This is why we don't make creepypasta horror movies.
There's something strange going on here.
Headcount is directed by L. Callahan and is maybe based on the Goatman creepypasta from 4chan. It tells the story of a group of friends who go to a party in Joshua Tree and end up playing host to a shape-shifting monster that takes advantage of the group's large numbers to lurk among them undetected. Like I said, this movie is based on, or at least inspired by, the Goatman creepypasta of the mid-2000s, early 2010s. And honestly, it's a shining example of why creepypasta horror movies don't work. This movie has a brilliant premise. It's the kind of movie where you have to constantly keep track of who's who and how many characters there are. It's the kind of movie where you have to keep your eye on the background constantly to see if there's anything lurking there. And then it does nothing with it. I guess I could start with the good because, there is some good to be found here. For one, this movie is really well shot and makes excellent use of its setting. We don't really get enough desert horror these days, and this movie really benefits from the location and the sense of loneliness and isolation that the setting lends to, and it really benefits the movie. But then they take that setting and just use it for the standard kids go into the woods, kids get dead setup that is super predictable and lame. And it ruins any of the atmosphere the location could have provided because you realize it's just another paint-by-numbers story. I applaud them for having as many characters as they do because it's very easy to forget who's who and it makes it very easy for the shapeshifter to infiltrate. And it makes use of the number of characters very effectively. The characters in the original story didn't even have names, so it was super easy to lose track of how many people there were supposed to be, except for the fact that they had to keep count, and this movie does something similar. The cabin in question has about 10 people staying there, and most of them are extremely flat and don't have a lot of screen time, so it's easy to lose track of who's supposed to be part of this group. I know that sounds like a backhanded compliment, and in all fairness it kind of is, but it's apt. There's no depth to anyone in this group, but in a way that kind of works, and it really helps set up one of the most creepy scenes in the movie during a game of Never Have I Ever. And in that specific moment and a few small others, it works to the film's advantage. The downside to all of the characters being extremely flat and unmemorable is that all of the characters are extremely flat and unmemorable. There's no reason to give a shit about any of them. The script feels like a first draft, all their dialogue is bland and completely forgettable, and ultimately boils down to, hey, let's drink. It's characters like this that remind me why I hated going to parties in high school. They're all annoying at best and awful people at worst. And honestly, I'm just kind of sitting there stone-faced waiting for them to die the whole time. The biggest problem with this movie is that it just doesn't go anywhere. It does a great job at being disorienting regarding how many people are there and who's supposed to be where. And it leads to one decently creepy and effective moment, but it doesn't really do anything past that. It just sort of stagnates. You get an understanding of the gimmick, and then the plot just stops moving and eventually stumbles to this awkward and really forced conclusion that feels extremely rushed because the movie didn't spend any time seeding it or setting it up in the slightest. So you just get this rush, half-ass ending with a terrible CGI monster reveal that looks way too much like Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, except that movie had the advantage of being a non-horror movie, so no one was expecting it, and this movie, you're just sitting there waiting for it, and it shows up and tries to scare you, and it just ends up being laughable. Guys, I don't want to dwell on this much longer. Headcount is a movie that has a ton of potential in its concept and has a ton of promise, but ultimately goes nowhere and then falls flat on its face in a rushed and messy ending. And its dedication to kind of over-explaining things, but also not really, leaves you feeling no tension and no apprehension, no lingering fear, no real emotions at all. And because of that, I'm going to say that Headcount is meh. If you want a better rendition of this story, just go read the original creepypasta. It's way creepier and way more effective and way more unnerving than anything you'll find in this film. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, click down there, like, comment, subscribe. I've got a Patreon link down in the description. If you want to be like any of these cool people right here and donate, I would really appreciate it. It would help me make new, better quality content for you all to enjoy. Even $1 helps. It would mean a lot. But even if you don't, thank you so much for watching anyway, and I'll see you all very soon.
5 times its name.